What's going on, FA Nation? It's time for another edition of 5 on 5. I'm going to be your host for today, Jen Piacenti, and who is with me today? None other than Dan Malin. Dan, what's up?
Not too much. Staying inside, staying safe. How have you been?
Pretty good. You know, this Thursday is quite a bit different than last Thursday, which was pretty much crazy first day of the NFL draft. So,
it sucks because it's like, we all looked forward to the NFL draft for so long, and now it's just like, now that it's coming past, we don't really have too much to look forward to at this point. So it's really just every day is back to blending together.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that NASCAR is going to go ahead with some races in a couple weeks, so that's some positive news, I guess. Though,
and it's a loaded schedule too. They're trying to do like 8 NASCAR races in about a month, and they're mixing in the Xfinity and the Truck Series as well. It's going to be wild. There's going to be like a televised race every night, so should entertain people for the time being.
Yeah, that's good. But you're right about the NFL draft getting us all pumped up, and now we're just chilling. I lived in New York for a long time, and I did a lot of performing and theater and touring, and we always called it PPP. Like the day after your show closes, you just have post-performance letdown. You just feel like so blue and you have no idea why. But it's like missing that connection with everybody and the excitement and the adrenaline. But don't worry, guys. Sports will be back. And in the interim, we're going to be here doing goofy videos like this, which are going to give you some great sports info and some really random info. And this series, if you haven't seen it yet, it's called 5 on 5, and it works this way. I'm going to give Dan 5 questions, and he gets 5 minutes and only 5 minutes to talk on that subject. Now, if he doesn't want to use the 5 minutes, that's okay. But at that point, I get to ask more questions, and that opens the door to goodness knows what, perhaps some hijinks. And if he keeps talking after 5 minutes, he will get a buzzer, and that buzz will sound something like this. And that'll be fun for everybody, too, because hey, who doesn't want to hear over and over again on their Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, whatever day of the week this is? All right, Dan, are you ready to go?
Good. Let's go.
Okay, so we were talking about the NFL draft. It was pretty awesome last Thursday. We had a lot of time. We gave you a lot of videos, live streams, all that kind of stuff you should find on Fantasy Alarm. But I want to know now, a week has passed. Based on the draft, whose stock has gone down for fantasy football?
For fantasy football, I mean, I think one of the more obvious ones is Aaron Rodgers. That's not to say that I'm not going to roster him if the ADP is right. He's still a really good quarterback. I think he's a bit overrated, but I mean, that doesn't mean I still wouldn't want him on my fantasy football team. I think that he could go on a giant FU tour towards the Packers. I mean, I think it's a little interesting that Aaron Rodgers, we hear these conflicting reports about his relationship off the field with certain members of his family, his relationship with his coaches, and here he is, just about 20 minutes into a tenure with Matt LaFleur, and LaFleur's already drafting his replacement. They didn't really. They got a running back in the second round. They didn't draft a single wide receiver in one of the deeper wide receiver classes. He lost Brian Bulaga. They really haven't done him too many favors on offense. So unless he just goes on an absolute rage tour and just sticks the middle finger to everybody and just absolutely balls out, I mean, I don't see how he has maybe even a top 5 quarterback season for fantasy football. But a couple other players that I'm down on, Cortland Sutton and Alshon Jeffrey. Sutton still has upside. He's a young guy, but at the same time, the Broncos went out and they really tried to put weapons around Drew Lock with KJ Hamler, and I don't mind it for Noah Fant as much, and I think everyone can still get a piece of the pie. Really doesn't help Sutton. And Alshon Jeffrey, the Eagles took Jalen Reagor in the first round. Alshon also has trouble staying healthy, so it's really like, how can you trust the guy? And I'm not too fond of any running back that is on a team that drafted a running back. So really, Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack, Mark Ingram to an extent. I already wasn't that high on Ingram because he's getting a little bit older, and Lamar Jackson already runs all over the place as it is. Any running back that's about to be in a pretty significant timeshare with a rookie running back. Now, I also believe that the length of training camp will determine how much work we see rookies get right out of the gate. For example, Joe Burrow is seemingly the obvious starter in Cincinnati now that Andy Dalton got released.
Yeah.
But I am worried that if there's a really short training camp without OTAs, without minicamp, if it's just an abbreviated training camp and they try to go right into the season, that really sucks, especially for a rookie quarterback. He may know the playbook, but I mean, you got to get into a rhythm and develop chemistry and a rapport with your teammates. So running backs in a timeshare, Aaron Rodgers, Cortland Sutton, Alshon Jeffrey, those are kind of the guys that I'm a little down on right now.
And who are you up on?
I think you might like this answer because Dak Prescott is an obvious choice for someone whose stock is on the rise. They got weapons for him. The offensive line should be perfectly fine. The Cowboys did draft Kevin Biotish out of Wisconsin for the offensive line. Yeah, I think he's going to be a very, very good replacement. I know he was a mid-round draft pick, but he comes from a school that just develops offensive linemen like it's a factory. So I think Biotish is going to be perfectly fine in Dallas down the road. Really like Dak Prescott. Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman I don't think get talked about enough. San Francisco ran the ball a ton last year, and they're going to be without Matt Breida now. It's still a timeshare, but those are two running backs that you don't hear too much about, and they were a little bit fantasy relevant here every now and then last year, so I do like those two. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an obvious choice for Kansas City. I'm not sure how many touchdowns or how many touches in the red zone he'll get. He is a bit undersized compared to Damian Williams, but he could catch 50 to 60 passes in his rookie season. I do like Jonathan Taylor. I know last week when I was on a live stream with you, I really talked up Keyshawn Vaughn. I still really like Keyshawn Vaughn. I said he might be my second favorite rookie. Not necessarily backtracking, but I will say I may put Jonathan Taylor ahead of Keyshawn Vaughn. Also like Hayden Hurst, now with the Atlanta Falcons. We saw what they did with Austin Hooper last year. Adam Thielen's another guy that I like. I know they drafted Stephon Diggs. Not necessarily Stephon Diggs' replacement in Minnesota because Justin Jefferson probably lines up more in the slot. I still really like Adam Thielen as well. And a rookie that I really like is Michael Pittman for a wide receiver in Indianapolis. He'll be the number 2 behind T.Y. Hilton, but honestly, he's a huge target. He's 6'4". Phillip Rivers could be connecting with him a lot.
Yeah, and how do you feel about Drew Lock?
I'm okay with Drew Lock. I don't know necessarily if I want to put in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league, I'd be okay taking him if I couldn't get 2 other guys or that I was comfortable with. I don't really want to rely on Drew Lock because he is mostly throwing to second-year receivers or rookie wide receivers this year, and he's going to be in his second year in the league. Let's go.
Good job. All right, that was a lot of info in a very short period of time. Excellent. You guys I hope you were taking notes. And I hope you're really going to take notes on this question because, Dan, we've had multiple interactions via Twitter. We've actually never met in person, but I feel like I know so much about you. Like, I know
just
that you
based on my food choices.
Yeah, I know that you like to eat peanuts with the shells on. I'm not exactly sure how you have such nice teeth, but it worked out for you, so it's okay. But what I want you to do is I'm going to give you an open forum here for 5 minutes. I want you to sell me on one of your very strange food combos or choices.
All right. So I had the peanuts with the shell written down, so I'll jump off there. So it all started when I was at a baseball game when I was a kid, and I would just see my dad and everyone else just eating peanuts and just throwing the shells on the ground, and I just thought that was kind of rude and inconsiderate. So I just started eating. I started eating the shell just to be polite, so it's one less person that the stadium crew had to clean up after. So I was just trying to be a nice kid, and after that, I just kept doing it because I enjoyed the taste. It's a little bit salty. There's more texture there. So I'm a big advocate for just eating the peanut shell. I haven't actually had anyone tell me like it's bad for me or that it could kill me. So until like that is jammed down my throat, I'm just going to keep eating.
If there's a doctor out there, if you could please tweet at Dan Malin if he's in danger, please.
And then another one was when I was a kid, a friend of mine actually really turned me onto the sandwich because I saw her eating it at the lunch table, and I thought it was completely disgusting. But it's just peanut butter, mayonnaise, and lettuce. And you don't really need the lettuce. The lettuce is mostly just there for texture. And I could see your face, and you look horrified. But it's not awful. It's no PB&J, but peanut butter and mayonnaise.
That's not a good sell. It's not awful.
But it works. Like it's
How does it work?
It just works. Like the peanut butter is sweet. You get the kick with the mayonnaise. I mean, if you put a little lettuce in there, it gets a little bit of a crunch as well. You could do potato chips, which I'm about to touch on shortly. But yeah, peanut butter and mayonnaise. It's weird. I know you're kind of grossed out by it. Mm-hmm. On Twitter, I get into a lot of pizza debates because I'm a big advocate for Hawaiian pizza, which is just ham and pineapple. I don't care what people say. I know it's kind of a touchy subject when people talk about pineapple on pizza. I'm all for it. I love Hawaiian pizza. It's probably top 2 of my favorite pizzas. It's with buffalo chicken, but I love Hawaiian pizza. I have no problem with it. California pizza with broccoli, that I kind of go against. I don't really dig broccoli on pizza, but I'm all fine with pineapple on pizza. And then another weird food combo that I enjoy is so everyone kind of gets, like, when you have French fries, whether it's from like with a fast food or if you make them at home, you dip them in ketchup. I apply the ketchup rule to almost any kind of food that is a potato. So I'll have ketchup with my mashed potatoes. I'll have it with a baked potato. I'll have it with a potato chip.
No.
If I'm just eating like kettle chips from like the Cape Cod kettle cooked chips, I will have ketchup with those. If it's a potato, if it comes from a potato, you can put ketchup in it. Even if you like have potato soup and you just want to dip it in ketchup on the side, you can do that, and I do that. And I know you're probably gonna throw up, or
What about a sweet potato? Can you do it with a sweet potato? Or does it have to be a
sweet potato because honestly, I wasn't a fan of sweet potato until about 6 months ago. So I'm still relatively new to the sweet potato market. I always thought sweet potato tasted a lot more gross than it did. Because I just didn't want it to ruin like regular potatoes for me. So I eventually got on the sweet potato bandwagon within the past year. I just haven't tried it with ketchup yet.
So I want to back up, and I have to say, like, I am not so upset by the Hawaiian chicken choice as I am this buffalo pizza choice.
You've never had buffalo chicken pizza?
What? No. And what is the sauce? Do you do it with marinara, or is it just like with a buffalo sauce and then the chicken is on the pizza? Because I don't know.
It's just a cheese pizza, just with buffalo chicken on it, and it helps if the chicken is breaded. And then you can put
buffalo sauce.
Yeah, and then you just.
Well, what's the sauce on the actual pizza? Do they put tomato sauce?
Yeah.
Ew.
It's just a standard like cheese pizza with buffalo wings on it.
Where do you get this?
I mean, most pizza restaurants will cater to it. Like I know, like even the major ones now, like Domino's or Papa John's, they'll make a buffalo chicken pizza. It mostly sucks though. If you're gonna get a buffalo chicken pizza and you want a good one, get it from like a local pizzeria. Most places will do it for you. And then I guess like my last food quirk is I prefer boneless wings over traditional like bone-in wings.
Oh, me too.
But if I have the option to get boneless, I'll do that. It's less work.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Way less work. I don't like working for my food. It's the same reason I would rather have like smoked brisket than like ribs. Because I don't want to work for my food. Same with lobster. Like I just want the tail so I can dig it right out. I don't want to go cracking around. Like,
see, I'm from New England and I don't even like lobster. Like I don't like having to like debone or like crack into the lobster myself. I just want the meat in front of me. I don't want to have to like, take it apart myself. And I'm with you on the ribs as well. I don't really like getting like a rack of ribs and then having to figure out where the meat is on the bone.
Yeah.
Just give me the protein.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got peanut butter and mayo sandwiches, ketchup on anything.
Any
Hawaiian
variation
pizza,
of potato.
Any variation of potato. Would you do ketchup on eggs?
I have.
All right.
That's not that.
Time's up.
Okay.
But as you guys can see,
I had to do the sound.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Very ladylike when I do the buzzer too. I love doing it. It's fantastic. All right. So now let's switch sports for a minute. Once we get a start date from MLB, this is an ongoing debate. We had it earlier this week on Table That Discussion, but I want to know what you think. Should all teams redraft?
If I'm just giving a generic answer, I'm going to say no. But I will say I'll give leniency to leagues that may have drafted in early March, only because they probably weren't anticipating a full shutdown of the season. However, I think after like March 10th, maybe even March 15th, if you drafted, you should have been aware that the league was shutting down, and this benefited players that were previously injured that may have missed April, May. So if I'm just giving an overall answer, I say no, because I think most leagues that I've drafted in started in April, and so I'm aware of the players that should be fine by the season starts, whenever it starts. And I'm comfortable with a lot of my drafts. A lot of my draft grades are pretty bad, which is kind of disappointing because I participated in almost every mock draft army that we had for fantasy baseball, and I just kept getting crapped on by the draft evaluator. But yeah, I still really like my teams. I drafted some injured players. I think it sucks for rookies, but if they're expanding rosters for this season, which is what I've heard they're going to do, if they cancel minor league baseball, which isn't confirmed yet, if they cancel minor league baseball, expand major league rosters, then I think it could help rookies a little bit, actually a lot. But no, I don't think fantasy baseball league should have to redraft.
So there's a point that was being raised that if you do decide to redraft your league, that some people might not want to play then. They might not want to go to the trouble. Do you think that would be the case?
Well, I think especially in money leagues, I don't think that you should be redrafting. If I was in a money league and I was told that we had to redraft, I mean, yeah, if you weren't feeling great about your team, I could see why you'd want to redraft, but it's just not fair to the teams that had a good draft.
But
why
is it a good draft anymore if it turns out that there's 3 divisions and now suddenly, there's a designated hitter and there wasn't before, so that changes all player values and there's 6-man rotations? And is it a good draft anymore? Like,
I don't know anything about the stadiums that they're going to be playing in. Like, if you went heavy on Colorado Rocky players and you were just assuming you were going to get Nolan Arenado,
right,
Trevor Story, you just thought you were going to get those guys playing in Coors Field, I could understand where you were upset with that. But I'm still going to say that I don't think that league should redraft, like you don't know, it's going to be a downgrade from the fact that they're not going to be playing in Coors Field. If they're playing in Arizona or Florida, there will be, humid days in Florida, the ball will travel. In the summertime, the ball tends to travel farther anyway. But yeah, I just don't think that they need to redraft at this point, just based on where they may play for this strange realigned season that they have.
It will be strange, though. I think there will be a lot of things that are going to change a lot. Like, I know I would have drafted differently, and not just because I drafted a lot of Noah Syndergaard, because that happens no matter what. Like, you get injuries. But when you have something like the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Atlanta Braves swapping divisions now, so now, the NL Central teams, a lot of them will be playing the Braves instead of the Pirates. That does change to me a lot of the projections and a lot of the way I see things, as well as if they're playing double headers, if they're playing 7 days a week, how the value of the pitchers will be. Like, I'm not so sure that, going, really long into games. I mean, who knows? It's all going to be changed. So I do think it's going to be a different strategy. And if there's an ability to redraft, if everyone agrees, maybe a league vote, then it is a different game.
Have they discussed, because I haven't really been keeping up on the baseball news. I've mostly been focusing on NFL drafts and
NASCAR.
The return of NASCAR. But have they discussed if it would just be a league-wide DH? Like, they would would that would be on the table?
It probably will be a league-wide DH. That's what they just need to
do going forward anyway, because I'm sick and tired of pitchers going up to plate.
I feel like it is a test ground for that, and that likely it would just stay if this happens. But then again, maybe not, because maybe people will just want some tradition next year because they're like tired of everything being different. Like, please just go back to the way it was. Yeah. I mean, certainly if they have a league-wide DH, it's going to change a lot. Like, you now have hitters for the Dodgers. Now you're sure you're going to have Jock Peterson and AJ Pollock, for instance. Like, it puts a lot of players into the pool, and people that drafted one of those people before maybe we're just betting on them maybe getting a few plate appearances. And certainly people in timeshares like Brian Braun, I think he'll have more value because there's going to be more opportunity. There's so many questions, so many reasons to redraft. But then there's also the strategy of working the waiver wire, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. It's like the reason I don't focus too much on my draft grades, as bad as mine were, is like the waiver wire is a big part of the game. I've done the waiver wire article for baseball and football for Fantasy Alarm, and I love just scouring it and being a waiver wire hawk. I mean, that's fine, Jen.
Yeah, it's fine. PSA, I think that's also why everyone should have a fab budget, because it keeps it fun throughout the rest of the season. If you have
Agreed.
But, good. We can talk about that next time. All right, Dan, I believe that you are a bit of a movie buff. I've figured that out about you. I think that you love the movies. I think you might even be a little bit in the industry.
Yep.
So I want to know, what are 5 movies you recommend for quarantine?
All right. So I tried to find 5 that were free or were on a streaming service, so they're pretty cost effective. But I also cheated with some of these, so I do apologize. The first one's going to be Extraction on Netflix. It's got Chris Hemsworth. Not a great movie by any means, but if you really just want like an awesome kick-ass action flick that just makes you want to rip the hair off your chest, this movie is really awesome. It's 2 hours.
Sounds exactly like my kind of movie.
It's 2 hours long. It feels like an hour and a half because it's just very quick paced. and just the way they shoot all the action sequences, and Chris Hemsworth gets into fight with children. Now he doesn't like violently punch any of them. They try to like kill him, and this isn't a huge spoiler by any means. And all he can really do is just shove them because he at least still has like some morality where he just doesn't want to like stab or shoot a kid. But I definitely recommend Extraction on Netflix. Very fun action flick. Another one that's available on Hulu, and I recommend this to anybody, is Cabin in the Woods. Even if you don't like the horror genre, this was initially when it came out in theaters, it was marketed and promoted as your standard run-of-the-mill horror movie with teenagers on spring break or vacation, and they go and spend a couple days in a cabin in the woods. However, things kind of take a very bizarre turn at some point, and I'm not going to spoil too much because there's I could describe what happens in the movie and you just wouldn't believe me because it just goes on so many twists and turns, and it's a roller coaster. I read one review for it before I saw it, and they said like it's a final exam for people who love horror films. And after I saw that and all the themes and just the bizarre twist behind it, I kind of agree. Like it's not your typical horror film, although it looks that way from the very beginning.
Okay.
My third one, you might have seen this one, Jen. I can't really gauge whether you've seen some of the first two, but one that I'm gonna recommend is 70 Years Old, and it's one of my top 5 favorite movies for numerous reasons, and it's Singing in the Rain. This is not free though. You do have to rent it on Amazon Prime for about $4 to $5. So it's 70 years old, and the jokes and the slapstick humor are still on point. They're still very, very funny. The songs are so catchy, and you probably heard numerous songs, whether it is Singing in the Rain, Make 'Em Laugh, Moses, or Good Morning. The NFL Network does that. Uses Good Morning. Yep. But it's kind of educational in the sense that the whole movie is about the transition from silent films to sound in film, and they talk and it kind of touches on the struggles of microphone placement, editing the movie with sound, having actors or actresses who are very good looking but sound awful. So Singing in the Rain just covers so many entertaining points, and you can learn a little bit about it as well.
Also, one of my top 5 movies of all time. So I approve this message.
Excellent. So with my fourth one, I'm actually going to jump to So we'll just do Ocean's 11. It's another one of my top 5 favorite movies. I don't know where you can stream this one necessarily. You can probably find it online somewhere. You may have to pay to rent it. But it's just such a complete and smooth movie. The cast is loaded with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, Andy Garcia, Bernie Mac, Scott Conn, Casey Affleck. I mean, the cast is huge, and Matt Damon's in it as well. And they pick on him for all 3 movies of that trilogy. But it's such a smooth and complete movie. And if you like Ocean's 11, you can skip 12 and go straight to 13 because they go back to Vegas in that one and they knock over another casino. It's just a really cool heist movie as well. And then my last one is where I really cheated. But all the James Bond movies are available on Amazon.
Thank you, Dan Malin. I was just saying yesterday, James Bond is like my new sports. Like if I don't know what to put on, I just put on any James Bond movie, any of them.
There's over 20 of them.
All
of
Sean
them.
Connery, though.
So they're all free except for the Daniel Craig ones. But all the older ones like Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, even George Lazenby's one movie that he did, and Pierce Brosnan, I'm 95% sure that they're all free on Amazon. If you want to watch the Daniel Craig ones, start with Skyfall, because that's probably my favorite James Bond movie of all time. It's definitely Craig's best. Oh my God, I could just talk about James.
I love Goldfinger. Anything with Sean Connery. I love him so much. He can deliver a zinger or like just a comment that like Roger Moore is good too, Daniel Craig's good too, Pierce Brosnan, they're all good. They're all different styles, but Sean Connery, James Bond is like, oh.
Yeah, if you're gonna do Connery, like Goldfinger, Dr. No, From Russia with Love, those are awesome ones with Connery. And then I do have an honorable mention one, which I'll try to fly through. But these are mostly series or limited series. Schitt's Creek on Netflix, wildly funny. Avenue 5 on HBO, really funny as well. Community on Netflix, I'm watching that one right now. Very funny show. Little Fires Everywhere on Amazon Prime. Big Little Lies on HBO. Waco on Netflix.
I like Schitt's Creek too. I just started watching that because my question from Howard was like, what show was I binge watching? I wasn't watching any except for Columbo, which... I did binge watch every single episode of, but anyway. So then everyone told me I needed to watch Schitt's Creek, and they were right. It's hilarious. I love it.
Funny.
So Okay, so for our last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna play a game because I like to play games. We like to play games. We work at Fantasy Alarm, and we're gonna play 3 truths and a lie. So Dan's gonna tell me 4 things, and I'm gonna have to pick which one is the lie.
Okay. All right. Number 1, I own a variety of strange kitchen supplies or utensils. Number 2, I once had a 14-inch growth spurt in 1 year when I was a kid. Number 3, I have 1 year of law school under my belt. And number 4, I once stepped on a baby when I was getting off an airplane at an airport.
Oh, man. God, that's really hard. I think you have the kitchen utensils. That seems like you. And I feel like I've seen you in the kitchen in your pie videos, which makes me feel like you like the kitchen. I don't think you would just come up with, I once stepped on a baby once getting off a plane. That's just too random. 14-inch growth spurt's pretty random too. And law school, I think you're definitely smart enough for sure to kind of want to know all those facts and things.
Wait, you don't think I'm smart enough for that?
No, I do think you're smart enough. Okay. That's why I'm having trouble figuring it out. All right.
Out, Piacenti.
I know. Yeah. I'm going to be left here alone in Positano. Okay, I'm going to say 14-inch growth spurt.
That actually happened. That is true.
That is true. Okay, which one is the lie?
The lie is that I have 1 year of law school under my belt. I got accepted into law school, but I opted not to go.
Nice. I got accepted to get my DMA, and I opted not to go.
Yeah, I took numerous study classes. Spent about $2,000 on like LSAT courses.
LSAT, yeah.
And I took the LSAT about 3 or 4 times, and I got into law school. It's not like it was a big struggle, but then after all the money that was spent on everything, I just decided not to go.
Which school did you get into?
I was going to go to Suffolk in Boston because it worked actually pretty well because I was a paralegal in Boston at the time. And a lot of the partners that said, you can keep working here full time. You can just go to law school at night at Suffolk in Boston. So I was going to go there at night, and then I just figured, I don't know, I really like movies, so I'm just going to go work on those. And
so we got law school or movies and fantasy sports.
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 jobs that I absolutely love, so I would have been absolutely miserable as an attorney. So
yeah, my brother's an attorney, but he loves it and he's really good at it. But he also still sings on the side, so there's that. 14 inches in 1 year. What year?
It was when I was 12, going into 13. So it was like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, like right around middle school. Yeah.
How did your mom feel about this? You must have freaked her out.
Well, she didn't realize it because she saw me every day, so she didn't notice it. We went for my physical 1 year, before school, and they're like, "You realize your son grew over a foot in 1 year?" And my mom's like, "Well, I knew he grew. I just didn't know it was that much." And it actually explained a lot because while this was happening, my heels really started to get a lot of pain whenever I was walking, and so I had to get special supports for my shoes just because my body was changing. And it was just it was something that
by 14 inches. Many
the
people
plates in my heels the plates in my heels weren't keeping up with the growth spurt, and so every time I was walking, and I was just gaining weight just from the growth. My heels and my feet just weren't able to keep up with everything, and so I had incredible foot pain during middle school, but it all worked out.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, what is the strangest kitchen utensil you have? What kind of strange or unique kitchen?
I think Matt, I've told a couple times, and a few other people, that I have a set of stainless steel sporks.
Sporks?
Yeah, which is a very practical item.
For your Frosties?
For anything. It's I have it for my applesauce or a cereal sometimes, or with ice cream. It's really good for ice cream, actually. I also own a grilled cheese toaster, which I don't really use. It's literally, you put 2 pieces of bread, and the slots are wide enough for 2 pieces of bread and cheese to fit in. They suck. They're not very good. It's better just to cook the grilled cheese on a stovetop. And then I have a smaller version of one of those hot dog rollers that you'll see in a gas station that just rolls your hot dog. that thing's okay. It's much better than the grilled cheese toaster, but you can still get better hot dogs just by grilling.
I think the grilled cheese toaster sounds like something that's good in theory, but actually doesn't work.
And these are supplies that I mostly bought for nostalgia. But I mean, the most practical one is the spork. I wish they would bring those back.
Well, with that, your 5 minutes is up. Revive the spork. Bring the spork back, friends. That's what we have to say to you today. Bring back the spork.
Bring back the sporks.
Watch Singing in the Rain, maybe with some potato chips and ketchup, and it's all going to be good. Sports will be back soon. Dan, thanks for joining us. You guys follow Fantasy Alarm on Twitter, on Facebook, on Periscope, and now even on Twitch. Like us there, find us on Instagram, and we're going to keep you entertained until sports are back with advice and various hijinks. For Dan Malin, I'm Jen Piacenti, and we will catch you next time.